the wobbles.
Our climbing kits have to go. They have to dry out. Definitely, you can't just leave them. Otherwise, they stink.
Yeah,
Do you remember like how your PE kit used to smell? Like, or the dirty PE kit bin in school.
Socks.
That's how it smelled.
Socks.
But and also it just they're not as safe.
Welcome everybody. This is to the it will be the third Outside Crowd podcast. So delighted you're joining us. And first of all, we got our usual regulars. We got Ryan from Royal Tunbridge Wells Landscapes.
Hello there, how we doing?
We got Jake from Fair Deck.
Hello again.
And we got Billy from William Gordon Countryside Services.
Hello.
Right, it's been raining recently, as you might have realised. So, and that affects landscapers, tree surgeons, and all others in the outside quite a bit, stopping work, leading to delays, reducing cash flow. So today we're going to have a bit of a chat about the different types of weather, if you don't know anything about weather.
That wet rain you were talking about.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And but more importantly, how it affects the works, what you can do and how we can sort of minimise the effect, and any other things that come to mind with this good bunch of people. So first of all, we're going to talk a bit about the rain. So then, Ryan, tell us, what can you do and what can't you do if it starts to chuck it down with rain?
Well, I mean, what you can do and what you can't do. I mean, trying to lay slabs in a real heavy downpour is very, very difficult, and it shouldn't be done in a heavy downpour. Once some slabs have been laid and they've been down for a good few hours curing, especially with that SBR, in the warmer weather, you'd be a little bit better. But it does. You are thinking ahead, thinking, oh, can I lay that much today? Due to the fact, it's going to rain. What's it going to do to the work? So what we try and do is, I guess, use Mother Nature. So like today, we know it's going to rain there tomorrow, and it's quite a heavy downpour for you tree surgeons out there. What we've done, we've tidied everything up, got everything clean. So the driveway's clear, the job's clear, and so everything gets cleaned and washed away. We've already cleaned it today, but everything gets washed down by the heavy downpour. So
right. Do you use anything? Because I thought before you used to use like a canopy thing.
So we've got a 4.5 by 4.5. 4 metre by 4 metre pop-up gazebo. They're fantastic to use. They are fantastic. It does get you out of a bit of a, out of a rut when it is, bad weather, say brickwork, anything like that. You want to do undercover. So it is very handy, and they do. It's a pop-up. The one we've got is very, very. It's the thicker side. I think it's 50mm legs on it, so it is for what we need.
Does it have the sides on it? Or is it
does. You can have the choice of the sides. Yeah, so that's we can. It's nice because you have the back and the front of it. The two side, both sides, left and right, open, and you can move it along. And
you have a picnic in it as well.
Well, that's right. I tell you, when you're standing there and you're trying to have a look at the plans and you're pulling them out and it's a bit of a windy day, having a wheelbarrow upside down, sitting on that, having a look at the plans helps out.
How about you, Jake? If you're doing decking, does it affect the rain? Must still affect you, or is it because you're using that sort of
more tools,
decking? You can still carry on a bit.
Yeah, we can carry on when it's a clay. When the soil's a lot more clay, it can become a bit of a struggle digging the holes for the posts because, digging clay in the rain.
It's the mess.
It's bad. Yeah, it's messy. God. It's claggy. But with the rain, we've got 2 gazebos. We put one up over the tools and we try and get one up where we think we're going to be working that day. With a deck, it's not quite the same as doing a large garden. You covered most of the area where you're working for that day anyway, and it's good. But a lot of the time, it's having that motivation to actually get up and go when you're looking out the window and it is torrential.
Oh, it's coming in, yeah.
And you've just got to sort of just go. Get to work and then crack
just
on.
Just arrive. Yeah, once you turn up, you're alright.
I think it's the worst thing looking at the weather forecast on your phone. You sort of pre-plan that you're going to have a bad one, but if you just don't look at it and just turn up,
and it's never as bad as it says as well. No. There's always that as well.
Yeah, try saying that a couple of days ago. It was actually chucking it down, wasn't
it? Yeah, it was tricky, but it's mainly keeping the tools dry because the battery tools, they can get a bit.
Oh, you want to look after them
when they're getting wet.
I don't think electricity and water work, to be honest with you.
No, it's battery, but Yeah.
How about you then, Bill? Does it affect you? Imagine the rain anyway.
The rain. It affects us. To be fair, yeah, it does. It does. It depends how bad it is as well. It definitely affects clear up times. If it's really wet, it takes us a long time to clear up, and then also we make more mess and just trudging around people's gardens like all day. I mean, like normally, especially if you're doing tree work, there's like a set route from the tree to the chipper, and you're walking along that all day, and then you just get this big track there.
Yeah. Do you put protection down for that, or is it just like...
We have done in the past, but that's normally for vehicles, but on foot we don't. It's probably something I should invest in, actually, but to hire them, they're about a tenner a week.
Yeah, but the track mats you're talking about.
Yeah.
We use hardwood like 9mm ply because it's lighter, so we do it for turfing. So what we do is we get a sheet of ply, cut it down the middle, and then make 2 handle holds. So you're holding 9mm hardwood sheet, so it's not that heavy, but then it withstands doing that. So for what you're doing, I guess the only thing is things getting caught in it. That's the only thing. But if you got them and ripped them down to 600 sheets,
those track mounts are good though because you can pin them down, can't you?
No, totally. Yeah, you are right. But like you said, they're very expensive, aren't they?
They are expensive unless you buy. Well, I mean, they're expensive to buy, but they're probably quite a good investment. But yes, it does affect us like that. Also, things like if a tree's covered in moss and lichen. Or sometimes algae. If you're climbing, it becomes really, really slippery.
Oh right.
When last Wednesday we did a job and it was hammering down, and I was climbing about this ash tree and it was so slippery, and all my ropes were just covered in this algae moss, and it became quite dangerous. But
do you have to add that to your risk assessment?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Inclement weather is always on our risk assessment. But if if it's particularly inclement that day, then we will add that to the site-specific risk assessment as opposed to the generic one that's there every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you've got more chance of slipping over if you're a groundie. You've got more chance of letting go of things if you're a climber. So we have to put other things in place like rigging, so tying in branches as opposed to just holding on and throwing. There's lots of things you can do. But yeah, 1, it slows us down. 2, it's another risk. And 3, it's just not very nice to work in, is it? If it's hammering down.
Does it stop you at all? Do you have to does it get to the point where it gets so bad that you actually just stop?
But back in the day when we weren't as hardcore as we are now, I think if it was really wet, then we'd be like, I think we're just going to call it today. But it's for example, if it's like December 29th or something, and it's smashing down with freezing cold rain all day, and you haven't had a break, and you can continue on the next day, then we'd probably do that. Right.
Do you have do the boys wear different sort of clothing when it rains?
Yeah, we've got waterproofs.
Right.
We normally just put the top on, change the trousers. We don't ever really put anything over the top of them, but yeah. We put on some weather gear.
What about you, Jake? Do your boys have wet weather gear?
We've got uniform and
was that dry weather uniform?
Yes, yeah, and waterproof jackets, but they're not that comfortable to work in. They're quite big and bulky.
Mm. We've got these. We've got some jackets that are very, very good, but they're like soft shell. So it means that you can have. For us, it's moving around in them. If you have the moment you put a big jacket on that's waterproof, and suddenly you're working away and the heat is getting to you. So the temperature management. When you're trying to work. Yeah. Throughout the day, and you want to make sure that if you're working through a bit of a cold spell, you got a jacket on, so you heat up too much. So the soft shell that we've got, we're able to move in it as well. That really helps. Because I'm sure, like you guys, you've got your tool belt on. You've got to be able to move from side to side. I know some of the big heavier duty jackets, because the not so heavier duty ones, they just get wet through. There's just another jumper. You're actually heavier. So you get the bigger jacket, heavier duty. They're just too hot sometimes. So.
Do you find it too hot pointing at people, telling them what to do?
I tell you what. Do you know how? It's look at it. It's hard. It's hard to hold my hand up.
It's a strong-looking finger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying.
What about? I'm going to say, like, if your equipment, do you have to keep that dry I mean, does some of it just like not perform if it's going to get soaking wet? Or they're pretty robust these days.
I mean, yeah, we try and keep it under cover.
That's the thing, you paid for it, right? You know, like you try, even whatever it is, if you leave it out, if you leave it outside, you know, in the rain, that tool for that client, you know, there's only so much you can put into the quote. You can't, you know, the maintenance and stuff like that on kit being outside is, you know, that's why the DeWalt's
Our climbing kits have to go. They have to dry out. Definitely, you can't just leave them. Otherwise, they stink.
Yeah,
do you remember like how your PE kit used to smell? Like, or the dirty PE kit bin in school.
Socks.
That's how it smelled.
Socks.
But and also it just they're not as safe.
How do you clean them?
What, his PE kit? Or?
My PE kit, yeah. How do you clean them?
Mm-hmm. How do you clean them?
How do I clean them? So, sometimes in the bath.
Oh, you in with them?
I have no. I have had a shower. I actually have had a shower with my rope before.
So you just walk. You just walk straight in the shower with it all on.
Yeah.
Some days where you,
or you can put them in the washing machine, but it you know, if you don't want to be doing it too often because it's not good for them, and you want to wash it with water, you can use
slow spin cycle, right? Probably.
You don't want it.
Yeah.
But you have to. You can get special rope detergents and stuff like that, which are like the non-bio ones that you can use.
It's the ones you use, eh?
Non-bio rope detergent.
Yeah, I mean it's non-biological, so it doesn't degrade the rope. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, fair enough. What about then if you go the other way around and it gets really frosty? Does that stop you working? So when it gets really cold, like imagine digging in the ground and
not so much digging the ground. It's the product. You know, we're laying sand and cement, so you know, yes, there's admixture we can use as frostproofer, but you know, you want to be careful while laying outside. There's lots of there's lots of stories where you hear lads go out and they're laying, well, when they're doing concrete, you know, not covering the concrete. We use Hessian to cover everything at work if it is going to be frosty, because we do have to, you know, I think it was last year, I think we had a real cold spell and it's just stuck around for a long time and we were trying to point a project, so, you know, every garden around, as you can see, they had the sunlight, and you know what, our one never got the sun all day. So if it was heavy frost, it stayed for a long time. So once we had our window, having the systems in place to be able to do it in the weather. But yeah, frost does, definitely frost. How about you?
Are you, Jay? Frost affect what you do?
Yeah, definitely. With millboard as well, a lot of decking, composite decking especially, the temperature really, really makes a difference to the expansion joints you choose on that particular day. And with our winters, sometimes it's minus in the morning and it could be 10 to 15 degrees in the afternoon.
Right.
But when you've got a board that fluctuates, and you need to really keep an eye on it, because if you've put in 5mm joins consistently through a deck, you'll find that they move at a different rate.
Right.
Because one, you may have put a 5mm expansion joint in at 15 degree and the other one you put in at 2 degrees, and there will be a change.
Oh, right.
And you need to really consider that.
Yeah.
And also the top layer of millboard doesn't manoeuvre as well when it's really cold. You don't get the flex back over the screw like you would in the summer or the warm.
Right.
So we really try and work around it in the winter and pick and choose the right jobs on the right days.
Right.
Because then you can install it properly. And get
How
the
does
best out of
millboard
it.
compare with other sort of like decking products to use in like during cold weather?
I mean, we prefer using it because it's limited on how far it moves.
Yeah.
You might get a 1 or 2mm movement on its second cure, but you can actually butt the joins. We leave a 1mm anyway, but with other products you do have to leave 5mm gaps. So millboard is the best for that. It is the Rolls Royce of decking.
Right. And that's not just a plug. That's generally what you think.
Yeah, genuinely, yeah.
How about you, Bill? If it's got, does frost affect you guys much if you're doing your work?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely on your hands, it slows things down. Loss of sensation, that sort of thing, that can slow you down. I have touched on it before, like if you're using cherry pickers, anything that has hydraulic, uses hydraulic oil.
Right, yeah.
It massively thickens up in the minus temperatures, so
Yeah.
it can take a long time before you can actually get them up to operating temperature. But yeah, things like if you're climbing, it doesn't matter if you're wearing gloves or whatever, and you can't feel the end of your fingers. It's going to slow you down and become dangerous as well.
I was going to say, when does it become too dangerous.
Like when you
I'm
can't-
thinking if you can't feel your hands, and that's not really the best thing if you're climbing.
What you find is at the start of the day, it's like, you know, it's difficult, but once you start moving them around, it's actually okay. So it's just a case of starting, and then it gets better.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you're treading on frost-covered ground,
Yes.
it looks terrible afterwards, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
it kills grass off. You have those big black,
Yeah.
and so sometimes people can't be happy with that. So I normally just like,
Do you call a job off because of the frost?
no, I haven't done yet, but I will always say to the customer, like, you know, what's going to happen?
Is frost worse than rain?
No.
Really? No.
Not in my experience. I just, you know, I just, it's so seldom frosty, really. Here, is it? It's more rainy than it is.
Yeah, you seem to get less frost nowadays, don't we?
Yeah.
So I suppose then it comes on to things like, imagine that the weather that really affects you is wind.
Wind is the big one. Yeah, because there's like maximum gust speeds that you can go up in cherry pickers, and there's also climbing. Having said that, when I did my climbing qualification, it was probably like 45 mile an hour gusts and hammering down with rain. And they still said that we could do it. So I kind of base things on that sometimes, but it depends. If you've got obstacles underneath you, like there's outbuildings, sheds, that sort of thing, cars, vehicles, you know, it's not good. Because the tree's going one way, you're trying to cut the other way. It becomes quite dangerous. You can cause issues. And you know, I've had it before. If you're taking the top of a tree out and you want it to go this way, the wind's going that way. You can have it. You know, the part you're cutting sit back on your chainsaw. Your chainsaw's stuck. You then got something that weighs half a ton above you, and you're trying to move that. And you can put yourself in a bit of a tricky situation. But there's measures that you can put in place to overcome that, like tying a line in. Again, rigging, and just having competent groundies that can give you advice, or you just call it off.
Yeah.
That's obviously the safest thing to do, is just to call it off.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. If a tree is pretty central in weight,
Central.
yeah. And it's windy,
Yeah.
could the wind force it to go back on itself and
Yeah.
not the direction you want? So would you always rig it? Would you always put a winch on? Or
Well, if are you talking about if I just fell it from the bottom?
yeah,
Yeah, it can do, because if you think about it, especially in the summer, it's like a massive sail. So like you know, there's all the force of that being pushed one way, but in the winter less so. But yeah, it can influence the way in which it travels. But I mean, it'd have to be some seriously high winds if you're felling it from the bottom. I mean, the weight of your sink cut's going to actually overcome the. But yeah, often we'll put a line in.
And that's the most dangerous type of weather for you guys, is it? High winds?
I would say high winds. Yeah.
And that's, have you come across many accidents and things that have happened because of that?
No, I mean we've you know when to call it off.
Yeah.
And I have done several times. It's given us the most amount of days off, I'd say.
Right.
The most amount of yard days have been a result of really high winds.
Right.
And if you add that, normally the high winds are normally coupled with a lot of rain, so you have to deal with both of them.
Yeah. How about with you, Jake? Because wind is when you're down on the ground. So
Holding them deck balls down, eh?
yeah. So it's just keeping the gazebos on the ground. Really.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I've had a couple of calls from customers. The neighbour's got a new gazebo. Your tools are wet, and then going round there at 10 o'clock at night.
Trying to clear.
Yeah, putting a gazebo back together and trying to save your tools.
Yeah.
Yes, not ideal. But we do weigh them down and pin them down, but a big gust sometimes.
But yeah,
Does what he wants,
Wind's
yeah.
not really much of an issue for you guys. You can just carry on regardless.
Not really, no.
I suppose it's the same for you, Ryan. But didn't you had a gazebo? Didn't you? Didn't
I
Will
was
go and
I
let
was
it?
just about to say I couldn't wait my turn there. Yeah, it's when what we do is we tie them down and we put blocks on as well, because like you said, when it is windy, geez, they do go. So we put blocks down, and I said to the lad, I said, right, do us a favour. I said, get some blocks and start setting this up for tomorrow. I'll go look at a project. He said, no worries. And in the morning, I got a picture from the client of my lovely gazebo up against this hedge that just been cut, and it had more holes in it. And I rang him up. I said, where'd you get the blocks from? He went, what do you mean? I said, for the wall. Where'd you get blocks? They said, they were just stacked up. I said, what, holding the gazebo down?
Oh.
I'll tell you what, the face. when I saw him, he couldn't believe it. So yeah, no,
But the worst thing is those gazebos. They cost a lot of money, don't they? They're not cheap.
No, the one I paid, I think I paid about £1,000 for the one I got. I know
Wow.
it's a lot of money. Yeah, it is. But the thing is, because it's bless it went against the edge. I didn't mean to, but in a heyday, they're perfect. They, I don't know what ones you've got, but the pop up gazebos. I went for the heavier duty one because of what we do. It's 4 metres by 4 metres, so you've got that square metre is underneath you. You can usually lay that much in a day, especially on the if that has to come out. To be honest with you as well, the gazebos for us, they help in in the sun in the summer, because when we're pointing, and we're trying to point, and you've got the beating sun coming down, we traditionally point. So having a product that's setting too quick, keep going off too far, we have no control. But being able to point, 15 square underneath, 16 odd square underneath a gazebo that day, it does help, and especially the summers we've had, they've been so hot as well, and working outside and what we do. I mean, I can't imagine you in your chainsaw trousers in the summer. I was thinking that must be horrible as well.
Yeah, it's not nice. Unfortunately, we'd have to have a huge gazebo.
You not get shorts.
Yeah.
And we normally, if we're cutting stuff, we're cutting the shade out normally.
I mean, it's one of the things I was going to come on to, like the sun, because it's something that's going to affect you, Ryan, and you, Jake, more than I don't know.
No, it affects us massively.
Yeah. But I was thinking, that's something the sort of health and safety issues of it, because you guys are,
it's
working hard and
regular breaks, lots of drinks, making sure everyone's taking their breaks.
Well, for like 3 days a year.
What do you mean?
Yeah, but it's not now, is it?
It's not.
It's
Mate.
like
Sometimes you
last
have
summer.
days and days and days of it just being really, really hot. And we've had that in the past, and you just have to, you have to smash out as much as you can first thing in the morning while it's cooler.
Where have you been working, Jake?
Yeah, he's trying to think, isn't he? You go to Scotland.
Yeah.
You've been working up north, have you? Where it's a bit cooler.
No, I mean, we don't get a lot of, before we know it's gone, isn't it?
Well, no, very true. Goes
Quite
on now.
miserable.
I know, mate.
Give me your over here.
I mean, coming from you.
I'm coming from you.
Easy, lads. Easy, lads.
Didn't like my who joke.
So do you always sort of like stop, or do you have regular breaks for the blokes to make sure that they can, rehydrate? And do you let them work without their tops on?
I
mean, that must be a
don't
frightening.
like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
I
gonna
really
s-
don't like it. I do make it very clear that I don't like them working with their tops off because they've all got better bodies than me. But I just don't think it looks as professional.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. But it's just very hard.
Understand. Yeah, I do understand if a customer's not home and
You're around the back.
you're round the back, and I won't tell people off for doing it, but they don't like it. They know that I don't like it.
It's hard because I've kind of always worked with a shirt off in the summer because it's just nice, nice being in the sun. But we do, we're standing in the row, and we've got a big thing of sun cream. Everyone, right, that's it, over your hands, turn. Everyone to the back, turn around. It's the funniest thing. Can't look out the window like.
Can I work with you?
You can work with me. You can do it. Do it in the winter as well.
What about you? What about you, Bill? Do you keep your shirt on?
Tops are an absolute no-go. Tops off are an absolute no-go.
Not with your trade, though.
Yeah, no. I mean, even if we're just clearing up, I think it looks really crap.
I do. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't like.
Top off,
people have
but
asked me if they
I
can
know
wear
why
tank
people do
tops.
it.
I'm like, no, don't even like that. Vests. I hate vests.
Do you?
Yeah.
I can't imagine you wearing one. No.
No, I wouldn't wear one, but I don't like anyone else wearing them either. I just think they look crap.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So things then. So I imagine the sun is quite a difficult one because you've got to you've got to watch what the guys are doing, make sure they don't get dehydrated, everything like that. How do your suppliers perform in different types of weather? Are there times where you think, oh god, it's raining, I know they ain't going to turn up, there's going to be a problem?
I don't think.
Or are they generally pretty good?
The only thing for me with that, the first thing that pops in my head is, it's not like materials. Well, it's grab lorry. The guys that go green, that they when they turn. That's why I like their drivers, because when it is wet, there's such a difference in a lad coming on with a grab and grabbing everything wet and just making the whole place a mess.
Yeah.
But so when it does rain, that's the thing. We try and get our dig out done. Muck away at the front, and sometimes you get caught in the rain. What we do is actually overnight we cover our muck away pile, because it's done by weight. That we want to get as much on the lorry as possible, so we actually cover ours over a heavy downpour. But it is that I guess that with suppliers, the only thing is if it's so wet and the mud you make. But again, like I said, the guys that go green, every driver from them was lovely.
Yeah,
So.
no, fair play. And one thing, I'm sort of changing it slightly. If you know you've got sort of coming into periods of inclement weather, or you're going into the winter season, do you boys change your pricing to reflect that? Because I imagine you're going to get more disruption, jobs are going to take longer. So do you price for a winter element, Jake?
In the past, I haven't, but it's definitely something. Recently, I've noticed the winters are getting a lot wetter.
Yeah.
Like cold, we can deal with cold, but the rain it does add time on. But it's not the customer's fault that the job's taking slightly longer, but it's definitely an element we put into our quotes now. We might add an extra day, a fortnight, or just for that reason, but we wouldn't be adding anything substantial on because of it.
Yeah, because I mean, most of those things, isn't it? Like if you've got inclement weather, it's not something though you can't charge the client for that. That's just like a neutral event which you take the risk for, isn't it? You price in, and you've just got to stand by your price.
Yeah, because it's difficult doing what we do. Well, like you said the last time, you were like, well, it's kind of what we do is out of ground. I guess the dig and hold one bit, but as you used to be landscaping yourself, we do so much. Outside it's very, very difficult.
We all should have just stayed in school.
They wouldn't let me stay at school. You mad?
I think you went to school, did you?
Yeah, just about.
And what about one other thing I was going to ask you? If you're you've got to stop for a period while you're on site, how do you keep the lads busy? What do you do? What do you guys get up to while you're waiting?
What, for the rain stop?
Yeah.
I mean, so I always say to the guys, like, we communicate about a smoke break. We have our lunch break at 10 and 1 o'clock, half an hour there each. But like, if we're like, look, it's going to rain at 11 or half 10. It's like, let's work until it rains, have something to eat, and so we kind of communicate about it, thinking, and even if it's in the afternoon, it's like, would you like a quick cup of tea in the afternoon or a quick bite to eat, and then we'll crack on because it's going to piss with rain at at 3:30, and you think, let's just kind of get ourselves set up for tomorrow.
What about you, Jake? Do you have a game of dominoes with the boys or something like that?
Well, we don't have set times with our breaks. It's between us. We sort of stop, have a sandwich, a cup of tea, crack on. We don't stop for a certain amount of time.
Yeah. At
a certain time. We do have quite good hours in the company, but the boys know that, and that was always a deal we made at the start. If we don't stop for a solid hour, we'll get going before the normal time. But we'll still stop and eat lunch and that. But usually, if it's a downpour, we'll jump under the gazebo or in the van, eat our lunch. Just try and not waste the time.
Not waste the time and get back. How about you, Bill? Do you guys have any rituals when you're waiting for the weather to clear up?
Yeah. It depends what we're doing. It depends how far into the job we are as well. If we've got like an hour left and it's about to start smashing down in half an hour, we're going to just do our best to get cleared up and gone. But if it's right at the start of the day and we know there's like 20-minute downpour coming, we'll sit it out for a bit, just have a chat. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Makes sense. And we'll put all the tools away in as well, so everything's not getting drenched. Makes sense.
Do you ever do any admin? Do you use sometimes I sit in the van for 10 minutes and make a few calls.
Yeah.
Order the skip, stuff like that. Try and make the most of that time and not just sit there.
Definitely.
And not being productive. Obviously, you can't always sit on your laptop at work, but you can always make a few phone calls.
Yeah, do stuff on my phone, yeah.
It's handy.
I'll often do that.
It's handy. I try and do the runner material. It's like, right, what can we clear? It's go like last week. It was a torrential downpour, and we said, right, let's go to the job and clear the job completely. We're just coming to the end of it. We had some pointing to do, but we cleared the whole project, and it absolutely opened up, and everything was just nice, crisp, and clean. So that we try and use our time up as wise as we can.
Brilliant. Right, okay, guys, that's rather wraps up our chat about the weather. I suppose we're always supposed to be a good nation of talking about the weather. So we
Q's next week.
Covered quite a bit this time. But no, thanks very much indeed, guys. So that's thank you from Ryan.
See you next time, guys.
From Jake.
And see you next time.
And from Billy.
See you later.
And I'm from JB. And see you next time on the Outside Crowd podcast.